you to stand for the pledge, the national anthem, which will be sung by Miss Angela Knight, soprano with the Washington National Opera. And Angela is also an ordained minister. So we're very, very blessed to have her. Angela, would you please step forward? Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm honored to be here with you. Thank you so much. Now the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I just found out that I have been asked to say a quick prayer, a prayer from the heart. And so I would be honored to do that. Our country needs help. Our country needs God right now. And I sincerely believe that our country needs Trump. And I know that you guys believe that too, or else we all wouldn't be here. And the Bible says that if his people will humble themselves and pray, he will hear our prayer. He will have mercy on us. And so all week I've been praying for mercy from God to deliver us out of the hands of the evil one. So without further ado, let's pray. Dear Lord, Heavenly Father, we love you so much, and we are so honored and grateful to be here in this beautiful place, this Fortune restaurant, Lord, but more importantly, to be in this beautiful land of America, this land that was founded, Lord, on good intentions and on good faith and on you. We thank you, Father God, that you will hear our prayers and that you will have mercy on us. And we thank you, dear Lord, Heavenly Father, that you will deliver us out of the hands and out of the snares of the fowler. And we thank you, dear Lord, Heavenly Father, that come election day, I'm just going to pray it, that Trump will be our president. Be with us tonight, Lord, as we celebrate. In your name, Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen. Amen. This is what a real smile looks like, just saying, okay? Okay, the national anthem. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? God bless America. You can be seated for God Bless America. Please Please keep the prayer in your heart as I sing. While the storm clouds gather far across the sea, let us swear allegiance to a land that's free. Let us all be grateful with a solemn prayer as we raise our voices in a solemn God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains, majesties above the fruited plains. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with Thank you. And that's my gift from God for America and for you. And somebody tell Trump that I can sing, so I can sing for him when he's elected. This is my good friend, Alice.
Didn't I tell you she was fabulous? Wow.
Please sit down, ladies and gentlemen. That was absolutely breathtaking. Thank you, Angela. Can everyone in the back of the restaurant hear me? Outstanding. I'd like to thank this gentleman, Hong, who is doing all of the auditory, if you will. I really appreciate that, sir. In the spring of this year, I had the distinct pleasure of meeting one of the most amazing Republican women I had ever met in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And quite frankly, I've met a lot of women in this great state of ours, but there was something very special about this particular lady. I was invited to a luncheon with the Susan Allen Republican Women's Club down in Locust Grove, Virginia. Little did I know that my brief meeting with this lovely lady would bring us to this evening tonight. You see, God has a plan for all of us, and He must have had a plan for me, because I knew I wanted to do something. And like so many of us, we just thought, well, you know, we'll just trudge along in this election and hopefully the chips will fall where they may. But when I met Alice Butler Short, I knew things were about to change, and change for the better. Alice was born in Tipperary County, Ireland, and it doesn't take you long to figure that out. She's absolutely charming, but she's also absolutely committed to everything that Trump is offering our country. I was drawn to her commitment, I was drawn to her passion, and I assure you, ladies and gentlemen, there is no whining allowed in this election when you are with Alice Butler Short. Defeat is not an option, ladies and gentlemen. Alice has lived all over the world with her husband, Colonel U.S. Army retired Al Short, who is here tonight. Al, would you please stand? He has been her biggest supporter, and I have to tell you that in the short time I have known Alice, I realize she is a powerhouse of a Republican woman, and she is the face of the Republican women of Virginia. I'd like to mention a few of her many accomplishments, because believe me, she has done a lot. And I'm talking about helping her fellow citizens. Alice, this past summer, was awarded the Daughters of the American Revolution Distinguished Medal Award. And I would like to just briefly read this to you, because it really deserves the fullness of what it is. The DAR Distinguished Citizens Medal Award was established to recognize worthy citizens for extraordinary service in the defense, promotion, and preservation of our American heritage for freedom. The medal is presented to an individual who fulfills the honor, courage, leadership, and patriotism. Ladies and gentlemen, that really sums up Alice Butler Short, doesn't it? In addition to receiving this distinguished award, she also serves as an Arlington lady. And for those of you who come from military backgrounds, this really resonated with my heart. The Arlington Women were established a group of volunteers who attend funeral services at Arlington National Cemetery. Ladies and gentlemen, these are not just ordinary women. These are extraordinary women. They're extraordinary because they take time out of their schedules to stand by the grave of every soldier, airman, and coastal guardsman so that he or she has someone standing by their gravesite when they are buried. Alice has also served as the chapter leader for ACT for America. This is the nation's largest nonprofit, national security, grassroots advocacy organization in the country. Perhaps you've heard of its founder, Brigitte Gabriel. She's been on Fox News a number of times. And before I call Alice up, I just want to thank all of you for being here tonight. Because you see, this is more about just women and men coming together for a lovely meal. What you represent is exactly what Donald J. Trump has been representing since day one of his campaign. We are Americans first, ladies and gentlemen. And as Virginia Women for Trump, we have appealed to women across the Commonwealth, regardless of your political affiliation. If you're an independent and you want Donald J. Trump in the White House, then welcome aboard. If you're a Democrat and you want Donald J. Trump in the White House, welcome aboard. We're not about party affiliation, we're about America. And I have to tell you, it was Alice Butler Short who started this organization. And I have the great pleasure tonight of introducing one of the most beautiful, patriotic women I have ever had the pleasure of meeting, Alice Butler Short.
Thank you. I'm not sure I deserve all that. I do have my faults too. But I want to thank Laura. You know, we've grown so much that I needed a deputy director, and Laura is it. And she is so wonderful. I'm the creative one. I have the vision. I can pull it all together, but I kind of fly by the seat of my... And Laura keeps me grounded. She is so organized. She's wonderful. And also my next door and good friend, Carolina. She drives the Donald with me. And we took it over to the Democrat headquarters about a week ago. Almost caused a riot. But we plan on doing it again this week. So you can't keep strong women down. You can't keep Trump women down. And oh my gosh, this is just a wonderful occasion here tonight, and the energy is so great. And I want you to take that energy out with you, because when they say, they've given up in Virginia, no, we have not given up. This is what the grassroots does. We convert wherever we go, whether it's the grocery store or IHOP, where I did it, or wherever. You can always strike up a conversation and bring them in, one vote at a time. But this is such a serious time for us, because we realize what's at stake more than ever before. And we also realize that Donald Trump is the man. He is the one who has been chosen. I always make reference to Isaiah 45 because Cyrus wasn't a perfect man. God never chose perfect men to do his greatest work. And he anointed Cyrus, and he called him by name. And if you think about it, Isaiah 45, Trump will be our 45th president. So I'm for the Cyrus candidate. How about you, Virginia Women for Trump? You know, we're not just in an election war, a political war, we are in a spiritual war because our country has been torn apart in every which way possible. And we see so many of our traditions that we were so proud of, now it's politically incorrect to express things in a certain way. And Donald J. Trump is striking a stake through the heart of political correctness, and I love it. That was one of the first things that attracted me to him. But then if you go back in his life, you will find that 30 years ago, he had the same vision for this country as he has today. And, you know, I found another interesting reference in the Bible. I didn't go looking for it, and I really don't know where it came from. But the Bible talks about a wall, right? Do we want him to build a wall? Yes. Well, if you want something to back that up, go to Ezekiel 23, verse 22. And God said, "And I sought for the man who should build the wall. I sought for the man among them who should build the wall and stand in the breach before me for the land, that it should not be destroyed." Stand in the breach before me for our land, that it should not be destroyed, that it should not be destroyed by terrorists, that it should not be destroyed by people who come across the border who want to kill us and kill our children. Now, immigrants, we love them. I'm one. This event here tonight was to bring us all together. We have people of every ethnic background. And I'm so proud of that, because no longer are we going to have the Chinese women over there and the Vietnamese over there and the Latinos over there and the African Americans over there. No, we are all Americans. We are all Virginian women Americans, and we're all going to come together. We're going to stay together. We're going to do what is necessary, and the grassroots is so powerful. I really believe that if we keep working, keep on doing what you're doing, we can win Virginia, and we will win Virginia. And so now, at this time, I have to introduce someone very, very special. We have been so blessed this evening. Everyone from Wynn, you all need to get his card, because tonight he's working for practically nothing. So we need to bring him a lot of business. And you need to come back to the Fortune Restaurant, because Vin here has been so generous to us. And his staff, they helped me put all this stuff up. They're just wonderful. And then my beautiful friend, and when I say beautiful from the inside out, Angela, who's not only a soprano with the Washington National Opera, she's also an ordained minister, and her heart is so filled with love, and when she sings, you can feel that love coming out. You can feel that light. And that is part of this campaign too, that we shine the light. It's so easy to go into the dark place. And the dark place is where we don't want to be, because the dark place is where defeat is. So we must keep shining that light every day, thank God for victory, and get out there and do it, and we will make America great again. So now I would like to call Steve Moore up. Steve is the senior economic advisor to Donald J. Trump. And again, he is so kind and so wonderful to agree to come here to speak with us because he is so busy. You would not believe how busy he is. Steve, can you tell them something about yourself? Because I'm not reading your bio. He's a very important man.
Is this woman awesome or what? I mean, is she going to deliver the state of Virginia? You're my hero. So thank you for inviting me. It is so terrific to be with you all. Alice, you really are my hero, and we are going to win the great state of Virginia. And I got to tell you this, that I just got some good news. It just came across my iPhone. I don't know how many of you saw this, but I think this will cheer you up. That just an hour ago, Michael Moore, Jesse Jackson, Nancy Pelosi, and Alec Baldwin all promised that if Donald Trump wins the election, they will leave the country for good. So is that a reason for Donald Trump to win the election? I got to tell you, Alice is right that I have been on the road. 9 of the last 11 days on the campaign trail, and there's something big going on out there. There really is. You know, I've been to Florida, I've been to Ohio. Yesterday I was in Missouri and Iowa. Skipped back to Chicago to root for the Cubs yesterday, but I've been just all these borderline states, and there's an electricity out there. There really is. People are so hungry for change. And I'll tell you one kind of fun story from the campaign trail. I was in Ohio about 4 or 5 days ago. I went to this, there was a rally in southern Ohio, and I flew into, any Ohioans here, by the way, anybody from Ohio? It's a great state of Ohio. Well, I flew into Dayton, and I got in the car, and I drove about an hour straight south and straight west to the Indiana border. And for those of you who don't know Ohio, I didn't really know the geography of Ohio that much. I mean, Ohio is, we think of it as a kind of industrial state with Cleveland and Cincinnati and Columbus, but you get out of those major cities, it's very rural, and I went to, we're driving in the car, and we're these little towns like Mayberry, RFD, one after another, and we drove literally for an hour and 10 minutes. A lot of these towns don't even have a McDonald's, and I was noticing every single almost in front of I'm not making this up, in front of almost every single yard, Trump, 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 Trump. And I said, you're going to love this. So I said to the driver, wow, this is amazing. I haven't seen one Hillary Clinton sign for 45 minutes. And finally I saw one. I go, oh, there's one. And the driver, as we drive past it, he said, take a closer look at that. And it was Hillary Clinton for prison. So we are going to win. And I thought I'd just tell you just a few things that I think are so important in terms of our economic agenda. I have been proud enough to work with Donald Trump on the economics. And by the way, didn't he just pound the hell out of her in that debate on the economy? I mean, Hillary Clinton is a woman. I don't know any economic theory known to man that says that you can revive a moribund economy that's flat on its back with $1.5 trillion tax increase, right? I mean, it just can't happen. And by the way, I hope there's not a single person in this room, and hopefully there shouldn't be a single person in this country, who believes you can pay for $3 trillion of new spending by just taxing the top 1%. She is going to go right at the heart of the middle class, because that's where the money is, and that's what liberals always do. They tax the middle class, and they promise they're not going to do it. And by the way, if people are dumb enough to vote for someone who's going to do that, they deserve her tax increase. But look at what Donald Trump is going to do. So at the heart of our plan is every single business in America. There are 26.5 million small businesses. How many of you own or operate a small business? Most of you do in this room. Every single person in this room is going to get a tax cut. If you pay taxes, you're going to get a tax cut under Donald Trump. We're going to cut the business tax rate to 15%. We're going to go from the highest tax rate in the world to the lowest, and I guarantee you we do that. We're going to bring all of these jobs that have left this country, where they're going to come back to the United States, and and you know what? we're going to revive our manufacturing base in America today. We've lost 1.5 million manufacturing jobs under Donald Trump. If we fix our tax system, if we fix our regulatory code, if we fix our trade, look, I'm for free trade. I'm a free trade guy, but I have to say this, Donald Trump is exactly right, that China is not playing by the rules. They're stealing our technologies, and I can't wait to have Donald Trump sitting across the negotiating table from the Chinese and negotiating better deals that are in American interest. So we're going to do all that, but I want to mention a couple of other things I think are so important, and I admire Donald Trump so much for this. He is the first Republican in maybe a generation who's gone into the inner cities, and he's gone to black audiences, and he's gone to Hispanic audiences, and he said, I am going to bring jobs back to these cities. I am going to give you better schools. Every single child in this country who is condemned to go to these government schools in the inner cities that nobody, no liberal would ever send their kids to. We're going to give every one of those kids, whether they're black, white, Hispanic, Asian, every one of them is going to get a school voucher to go to any school of their choice, and it is about time. And by the way, you know who has school choice? Barack Obama does. You know who has school choice? Hillary Clinton does, but they won't let low-income blacks and Hispanics go to the good schools they send their kids to. And by the way, Barack Obama lives in public housing. How come he gets to send his kids to good schools and not these folks? The other thing that is so important, we are going to rip up and tear to shreds every single word of Obamacare. Obamacare is gone from America, and we're going to provide people with better health care. We're going to cover every single person in this country with health care. We're going to do it at a fraction of the cost, and under our plan, ladies and gentlemen, you will be able to keep your doctor, you will be able to keep your provider, and by the way, you will save $2,500 a year on your health insurance, and that's something that hasn't happened under Obama. One last thing I feel so strongly about that I've worked with Donald Trump about, and he gets it. It's one of those issues where he gets it and she just doesn't, is energy. If we get this right, if we elect Donald Trump president on November 8th, I promise you, within 4 years, the United States of America, this great, great, great country of ours, will the first time in half a century be completely energy independent. And that's something that is an amazing thing. And by the way, we are not going to get there by building windmills and solar panels. We're going to use our oil, we're going to use our gas, and we're going to put every single coal miner that Barack Obama has put in an unemployment line back in the job that they belong in, right? Every single one of those people is going to get their job back. And I told Donald Trump this, and I'll tell you this. I told Donald this when I flew with them a couple of weeks ago. I said, Donald, you know, the first thing that you're going to do, just like when Ronald Reagan came into office, the first thing he did when he entered the Oval Office is sign executive orders. Donald Trump, I promise you this, is going to repeal every single illegal executive order that Barack Obama has signed into law. And the one that is going to be at the very top of that list, the very first executive order, is going to repeal the power plant law that has put our coal miners out of business. And we're going to put them all back into jobs. So these are powerful ideas. And finally, this country is in a kind of war right now. It's sad to see, frankly. But one of the things I've discovered in traveling around the country with Donald Trump to places like, we go to places like Rockford, Illinois, or we'll go to places like in Iowa, or we'll go to places, like Hershey, Pennsylvania, and places that were once vibrant areas of American muscle, economic muscle. And you go to these places today, and it's just sad to see what has happened in these communities. These communities have lost their job, the steel plants, they've lost the car plants, they've lost the economic might of what America stood for. And when I hear these liberals talk about how well the American economy is doing, yeah, if you live in Silicon Valley, it's doing well. Or if you live in Washington, D.C., it's doing pretty well. If you live in Wall Street, you've done pretty well. But the people who are really hurting out there are the people in real America. The people are the backbone of our economy. Some of you have heard me say this, but I'm going to say it again because I think it's so important. The first time I ever met Donald Trump, was almost exactly a year ago. And my friend Corey Lewandowski, who was running the campaign, said, come to Dallas and meet Donald Trump at one of his rallies, and then you can talk to him. And I went out there, and you've experienced this all yours. How many of you have been to a Trump rally and seen Donald Trump? I mean, those rallies are amazing, aren't they? And I had never experienced anything like this. I've been in politics for 30 years. I went there, and there were 6,000 people there who had waited 3 hours to see Donald Trump. And I went out in that audience, because I'm a student of economics and political science, and I just wanted to see what brought these people here. What would motivate someone to wait 3 hours to hear someone? And they were so hopeful, and they told these stories. And by the way, the people that I met at Trump rallies, and this is true now everywhere I've gone, whether it's Colorado Springs or Pennsylvania or Tallahassee, Florida, you hear people say the same things. They feel that they've been betrayed by both parties, frankly. They feel that the Republicans and Democrats have broken their promises, and they feel that nobody has been listening to them or has been attentive to their economic anxieties and fears. And I got to tell you, I met carpenters, and I met school bus drivers, and I met teachers, and I met blacks, and I met Hispanics, and I met veterans, and I met the people who are the backbone of this economy. And what they said, and one of the most important things that Donald Trump has said, I think, in the last year, remember when he said at that convention, remember that the convention speech he gave, he said to all those people who feel like no one is listening to you, and that's a huge percentage of the population, remember what he said? I will be your voice. And they deserve a voice, don't they? And I guarantee you Hillary Clinton will not be their voice. So let us all make a pact that we will do everything possible, use every ounce of energy that we have for the next 3 weeks to win this election. This is a winnable election. The Investors Business Daily poll just came out 3 hours ago. Nationally, Donald Trump is up by 2 percentage points. He is going to win this race. And the pollsters are trying to, what the left is trying to do is basically demoralize us and say the race is over. This race is not over, it is on. And the last thing I'll say to you is this, because I haven't seen my wife in 8 days, and she's in the back there, and we're going to go out a little bit. She thinks I'm having an affair or something. No, I'm working for Donald Trump. But I will say this. Can you imagine how sweet is it going to be on November 9th to look at the New York Times? Those people are going to have a nervous breakdown, and we're going to work to make that happen. God bless you all for being here. We are going to win America, make America great again. I'm so proud to be with you today. Thank you.
Okay, we'll continue with our program. We do have, Carolina has just taken a big box. One of our Virginia women made something very special for us all. She made handmade mints with Virginia women for Trump on them. So they'll be circulating through the tables. And Linda Frank, is Linda Frank here? Linda is Vietnamese, and this was not on our agenda, but her story is so compelling. I think we all need to hear it. We're all immigrants. Linda's an immigrant, and she came in on a boat, or she came a certain length of the way on the boat. So, Linda, can you, in maybe 5 minutes, tell us your story so that everyone can hear how it's not so easy sometimes?
Thank you so much, everyone. I was here about a month ago at the Asian American gathering similar to this, and I was so inspired by the stories. But you know, if any of you ever get pulled up to do an impromptu speech, you know how I feel right now, so you may just have 5 minutes because I want to get off the stage and hear some of the bigger speakers. But my family left April 30th, 1975. Abruptly, because we knew that if we stayed, what the communists would have done to my dad. We lived in Saigon, and my dad had so much hope that we weren't going to end the war that way, because he had his whole life, and he was prosperous. We had a beautiful home. We had, live-in maids that took care of everything. I didn't even know how to do laundry until I came here, because somebody took care of all that. So there were 6 of us, and we bundled up, and by the time we left, if you look at your history, April 30th, 1975 would mark the day the downfall of Vietnam. And there's many of my compatriots that are sitting out there. There's about 60 of us. We're very gung-ho being here to support this event because we all Americans, right? And I have to say this. Are you all excited about being in a room with so many deplorables? I am. So to honor Alice, who's worked so hard, she asked me to come up here, just share my story really quick. So we left, and for 3 days and 3 nights, we did not have any food or water. Nobody gave us lessons one-on-one how to evacuate properly because we didn't think we were going to lose the whole country. But we knew if my dad stayed behind, they would round up the men, and they will tell you, the communists will tell you, you just have to report, you got to check in with us, we're going off for a couple weeks, you'll get back to your family. There are many stories people don't make it out of those camps, and some did, like 5 or 10 years later, no contact with their family. So my dad was not naive about what the communists would do for our family, so we made a split decision. We didn't know we were going to die in sea, but he knew what was going to happen to him if he stayed behind. So I love Trump's message because it's all about freedom, and we know what that's all about. All my Vietnamese compatriots here, we risk everything, did we not? Let me hear from you. We risk everything. As you guys know, Asian culture is very polite, so I have to say a few words in Vietnamese. Chào bác, chào chú, chào mấy chị, okay? Thank you so much. And, but anyway, so how do we survive that? The grace of God, by the grace of God. People were dehydrated. I mean, we were just people getting sick. And in the process of leaving so abruptly, we almost lost my little brother. If you know, some of you are parents in here, you do head counts when you're ever going someplace, but if you're going like that in a state of emergency, my dad and my mom were counting, and they were like, we have 6 kids. She was like, where's number 6? It was my little brother who was 3. So we backtrack, and are in the chaos. People were going crazy at that time. It was the day the communists was marching in, and we were sneaking out. And we found him just standing, literally, by the side of a ship, just crying, because my mom had taught him, if you ever get lost, stay exactly where you are, we will find you. So we found him just in tears, and the rest of that journey, he never left my dad's side. He stuck on, he slept on the boat, you know, grabbing my dad's neck, like he didn't want to lose my dad. So to move the story along, luckily, the boat captain, now this ship was designed for about 500 people, but out of humanitarian reason, the captain couldn't keep turning people away because there was little boats kept on trying to pile on this big ship. We ended up having 4,000 people on this boat, and it was sinking as it was leaving. So let me tell you, I value freedom, folks. I value freedom because we didn't know we were going to die in sea or not. And you could see the sharks swimming around our boats. And it was sinking, so it was a very scary time. But by the grace of God, the SOS we sent out, the Danish cargo ship interceded. By that time, the U.S. carriers already moved out of the international water. They were obeying orders, so there was nobody to rescue us. And people were dying, were starving. The sun was beating on us, and it was just a tough time. But like again, God saw us to safety because this captain, the Danish cargo ship, interceded our SOS. Took him 3 hours to find us, and he rescued us. He got us to his big, and I guess for me as a little girl at 8 years old, I remember looking at it, and then when I saw Love Boat back in the 80s, it was very famous, and that looked like the ship that rescued us. It was a glorious sight, because they fed us, there was doctors there that was taking care of the sick people. But I'll leave you with this quick story. As I was sitting there up on the deck, I looked up, and at that time they said Queen Elizabeth was visiting Hong Kong. So she took a helicopter ride and was around hovering, assessing the needs of the people. And I was on that big ship, and I remember being 8 years old, waving to this lady with a hat on, and she smiled and she waved, and it was the most unforgettable smile, because she asked the Hong Kong government, because at that time, British had ownership of Hong Kong, convert a military camp to a refugee camp. And so we stayed there for 3 months, 4 or 5 families. Some of you, we survived all that. You just put together 3 or 4 or 5 families together, slept on the floor. bamboo, mats and all that, but we were lucky because we were safe. We were lucky we had food 3 days, 3 times a day because they brought the food in. But what we did was we honor the system of refugees, and we waited our turn, and we followed the system, the process of many international communities that came in there to interview us, to find homes for us. And my dad held out because we got accepted to go to Germany, resettle, and Canada. He said, USA. He wanted the United States of America. So with that, we went through the process. We wait our turn. We were legal. And so we got settled in the United States, and church family reached out to us, and we're so grateful to that because that turned my heart to the Lord, knowing that there's so much more out there. And I was so grateful for the opportunity that my family had because some people died out in sea. So I leave you this. I'm here because I'm a Trump supporter. Like I said, I believe in freedom, but I believe in the power of unity. And when there's unity, God commands his blessings, folks. So I'm here, and I'll share with you a quick story about what I believe is so powerful when there's this kind of gathering. If you all know a story about Belgian horses, they are beautiful horses, and they can carry 8,000 freight of, just cargo. But when you have 2 Belgian horses together, marching in the same beat and training to go to the same direction, they carry 32,000 pounds of freight. We are all like that. Like she said, you go out there and you fight on Facebook and you talk to people at grocery stores, and I do that. I talk to people at doctor's office. Hey, by the way, I heard you were talking about the debate, blah, blah, blah. And I get in there. And what I do is I've been carrying these around with me. I have voter registrations. I have downloads of how you can register online. Oh, do you want a copy? I have I'm in Prince William, Corey Stewart, I'm a Prince William person. I have just like how they can go vote like absentee, and I give them a flyer. How hard is that for your freedom? Isn't that much better than being in a boat 3 days, 3 nights, no food, no water, not sure if you're gonna survive? It's so easy to reach out, folks, and people out there are very receptive. Thank you very much. God bless. God bless you, and God bless America.
Thank you, Linda. And Linda, I was in Hong Kong at that time, and my friend Maureen was working in the camps, so maybe she knew you. And also my husband, who's here, he's a Vietnam vet, and he was on the Blue Ridge during the evacuation of Saigon, and actually wrote the official U.S. history. So now we move on, and we have another very famous person. And you will all recognize him. And if you don't recognize him, as soon as you hear his sexy voice, you will. And he is absolutely wonderful because he speaks on the issue that is so important to us, and that is on the issue of Islamic extremism. And the information that you will hear tonight will just really sink right into your heart and soul and make you want to know more. And after the election, we'll have other gatherings like this. Virginia women are not going to go away. So Dr. Sebastian Gorka, would you please come up here and tell them how important you are? Now, Dr. Gorka has written a wonderful book, but he's run out. Everybody wants it. But he did bring cards here tonight, and it's on Amazon. And it is Defeating Jihad. And you know what? Just as each one of us has a role to play in electing Donald Trump, we have a role to play in defeating jihad. And the more you know about it, the more you know that it is all around you. It's in places that you don't even suspect. It has infiltrated our government, but here is the expert.
Are we excited? You know, I've met a lot of economists. I wish we had more like Stephen Moore. That was impressive. I'm still thinking about the cover of the New York Times on November 9th. Thank you. Thank you so much, Alice. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Vin, for hosting us. This is quite an event. I'm going to start with a story very similar to the one you just heard, because it's the first chapter of my book, Defeating Jihad. I'm a national security wonk. I eat, drink, and sleep jihadism and national security. So when I was asked to write a book about it, I was going to sit down and write about national security. And my wife said, Katie, sitting there trying to hide, she said, "Are you nuts? You can't just write a book about national security. Do you want to sell some books? You need to connect with your audience, right? You have to have that connection. And how do you do that? You tell a story. We all love stories. So before I dived in to talk about the evolution of jihad, what is Al-Qaeda, where did ISIS come from, I devoted the first chapter, and it's the only chapter anybody ever talks about when they meet me. I devoted it to a completely other topic. And that topic was my family and my parents. So my parents were born behind the Iron Curtain. They were born in Hungary, and they were raised and grew up in that communist dictatorship. My father, as a teenager, decided to resist dictatorship. He wanted to push back, and he became an underground activist against the communists. Unfortunately, he and his fellow patriots who were fighting for freedom and independence were betrayed by Kim Philby, who you may have heard of, one of the most heinous traitors of the Cold War, he and his so-called Cambridge apostles. As a result, at the age of 20, my father was given a life sentence in a communist prison. He spent 2 years in solitary, not 2 months, 2 years without human contact, and then 2 years down a prison coal mine. However, in the glorious 10 days of October 1956 that became the Hungarian Revolution, he was liberated by his fellow lovers of freedom. He was rescued from that prison, and with the daughter, the 17-year-old daughter of one of his fellow prison mates, they made it out across the minefields, across the barbed wire, to freedom. As a result, I was born and raised in the UK. But from my very earliest moment, because of their history, I was inculcated, in my mother's milk, literally, I was inculcated with one very important belief. Ronald Reagan was absolutely right. The loss of freedom is always but one generation away. Freedom and liberty are as fragile as they are precious. And the fact is, today as a nation, we again face a totalitarian threat. We have fought totalitarians before. We fought the Nazis. We fought the communists. And today we are fighting a new brand of what I call hybrid totalitarians. They're not fighting for Karl Marx. They're not fighting for Adolf Hitler in some Aryan perfect ethnic empire. They're fighting for their God. Whether it's Al-Qaeda, whether it's ISIS, whether it's the Tsarnaev brothers in Boston, whether it's Omar Mateen in Orlando, we again face a totalitarian threat. And it is important to remember, I'm a proud American now, it is important to remember that it took America to defeat the Nazis. It took America to defeat the Soviet Union. And guess what? It's going to take America to defeat this new enemy. The world is on fire, ladies and gentlemen. It is on fire. Wherever you look, whether it's Asia, with China intimidating its neighbors, whether it's the Middle East, with ISIS reestablishing the caliphate, whether it's Europe, where Russia has invaded one of its neighbors, or whether it's Africa, where Al-Qaeda, that we don't talk about anymore, is more active than it has ever been. We are in trouble. I have had the honor to meet Mr. Trump. I have had the honor to advise him last year. I'm not part of his campaign, but we met on more than one occasion, and we discussed national security issues. And let me tell you one thing. Whatever you think about Mr. Trump, or whatever your friends think about Mr. Trump, make them understand one thing. This man understands we are at war. Not only that, this man, and I'm convinced of this, wants to win that war. So, I'm going to go off my usual beat right now, okay? I could talk to you for hours about jihad and strategy and all that fun stuff. But we're here for a reason. We're here because of November 8th. So let me make a personal request to all of you. Number one, whatever you do, do not lose faith. The senior economic advisor to President Reagan published an article today on how all the polling figures should not be trusted. The polling figures, the pollsters, are pre-selecting how many Democrats and Republicans they talk to based upon the turnout in the last two elections, which is absolutely not necessarily the turnout for this election. You heard Stephen Moore. I've seen it. I travel 20,000 miles a month. I see the Trump signs everywhere. So do not believe the hype. We can win. We must win. We must win, and this is not hyperbole, because I am not somebody who tends to exaggerate. I like facts, and I'll tell you one fact. This election, no matter how old you are, this election is the most important election in your life. The stakes could not be higher. So let me make a personal request to you. Don't lose faith, and in the next 2+ weeks, I want you personally to take the example of Alice, Laura, her team, and do whatever you can to get as many people to the polling stations. This is why Romney lost. Because we had people who considered themselves to be conservatives, people who considered themselves to be Republicans, stay home. And what does the other side do? Bus in voters. So, number one, specific request. You, whether you are in a couple or not, I want every single individual in this room to promise me you will take 5 people to the polling station on November 8th who otherwise would have stayed at home. Number one. Number two, whatever your age cohort, whoever you like to hang out with, we must convince as many millennials and as many people that this is about their future. And the way to do this, I'm going to be harsh now, we have teenage children, so I'm going to talk about the realities of working with the next generation. Do not rely on logic. Okay? All right? Because you won't win. You won't win. When people like Bernardine Dawn and Bill Ayers realized they couldn't have a Marxist revolution in America when they were part of the Weathermen Underground, they remembered what Lenin, what Trotsky, and what Hitler said. And they said, give me their youth and I will take the country. And that is what they did. we ceded the schools, we ceded the colleges to the radical left. That is why you have incredibly mind-blowing things such as the Bernie Sanders phenomena. Okay? So don't argue based upon taxation rates. Don't argue based upon how many food stamps are issued. Forget about facts. Okay? Do what the left does. Talk about emotions. Talk about the soft and fuzzy stuff, because that's the only way we will convince them to vote for the only person who is fit to serve in that office and protect America. So how do we do this? One thing. Talk to these people and just send them the link to the video on YouTube of Clinton Cash. Clinton Cash, the book by Peter Schweitzer, is a slam dunk indictment of the organized crime cartel that is the Clinton family. The book is great, but people don't read anymore. Okay? So point them to the video. Just the first 16 minutes on how Hillary and Bill Clinton bilked the Haitian Republic of millions of dollars meant to go to the victims of the Haitian earthquake will make every millennial who sees it want to throw up in disgust at Hillary Clinton. So mobilize your friends, mobilize strangers, get them to the voting booths, and convince as many people who are on the fence that they must not vote for Hillary and Trump is the only answer. Clinton Cash, YouTube. It's got more than 2 million views. It is a very, very powerful tool in our possession. Okay, on the last note, you've heard about the book. If you're interested, please come up to me. We can provide you with flyers. If you want me to sign it, we'll find a way to work that out as well. That is possible. But one last personal request. I know personally Stephen Bannon, who is Mr. Trump's campaign manager, and I want to send him a photograph of all of you guys so he can give it to Mr. Trump. So can I ask you to stand? There's so many of you, you've got to stand still now, all right? Stand still, okay? Okay. And a selfie. Stay there. Hands up in the air. Thank you, everybody. Yes.
I just want to repeat him. We must win. We must win. My mom, 103 years old, she will go to vote this year too for Trump. That's my mom, 103 years. She's been here today. Okay, so we must win. We must win. Right here, Trump, and she will vote for Trump. She will vote for Trump. Okay, no, she cannot stand. Okay, she's the one, 103 years old, and we are Vietnamese. Okay, thank you. And I promise I will bring some friend of mine, senior, go to vote that day. Every year I go to vote. And this year we vote for Trump. Thank you.
We have so many great people here tonight. And now we have a woman. And this woman is a force to be reckoned with. I went with her to the Urban League. That's kind of like going into the belly of the beast. And she was just fantastic. Dolores, again, I don't have your long resume, but she has been a Republican from a very young age. And come up here, Dolores, you can prompt me. And she She started the College Republicans, right?
Yeah.
In where?
University of Dayton.
In the University of Dayton. She also, actually I'm with her on it, we have a little radio program now at 3:30 every Sunday that reaches the black community, mainly black women in the $70,000 salary bracket. So I think you'll really enjoy. This woman should be on national TV. She should be a surrogate for Trump because she is so powerful. Dolores Reyes, my good friend.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. I got to put my glasses on. Okay. My friends, let not your heart be troubled. The dishonest, deceitful, horrible witch, Hillary, has failed at everything she touches when it comes to America. She's failed in Libya, failed with Iran, failed with Iraq, failed with Russia, failed with Egypt, failed with the email servers, failed with her health care plan when she was First Lady. Now she's trying to hide her failing health. We know that the demons around her and Hillary herself will do anything, and I do mean anything, to win this election. Cheat, lie, steal, and even kill to be president of the United States. What's wrong with this picture? Are you so determined to be president of the United States that you would even sacrifice your soul for this job? Believe that there is something deeper than that at the heart of this election. I truly believe that we are at a precipice in terms of the direction of our country, almost likened to that of the dark forces versus the light of the divine. Do we want a country that is overrun with millions of illegals and criminals that are given a pathway to citizenship in front of people that have applied to enter this country legally and obey the laws of our nation? No. Do we want a country with tens of thousands of Syrian refugees that can't be vetted properly, that we, I mean us, will have to pay for financially and carry on our backs for years? Do we want a country where the inner cities of our nations are destitute and barren of jobs and hope? Does this sound like a force of good to you? Not to me either. It is imperative that we get this right. When we hear a concerted effort by the media, Democratic Party, federal government officials, and people that meet on the tarmac to bring down Donald Trump, this includes the establishment Republicans, we know that the forces of evil are at hand. We can't let these dark forces lead us to our Constitution's destruction. Refuse to let them get you down. Lift up your heads and your eyes towards the sun. Believe and trust in the goodness of man and womankind and this country's divine destiny. Roll up your sleeves. Knock on one more door. Ring a doorbell. Call your neighbors, your father, your mother, your friends. Tell them about the positive power of Donald Trump and how he wants to save our country. Stand up. Stand up. I want you all to stand up. Stand up and say it loud. Let the rafters shake. I want you to say it. Trump, 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 Trump. Amen.
Okay, do we have some strong women in this house? We have a 103-year-old lady who's going to vote for Trump, her 80-year-old daughter, and who's going campaigning tomorrow. We're going to get her on the Trump plane. So now we come down to one more speaker, and I am always very, very proud to introduce this man. He supported me in holding a rally, a women's rally for Trump, right? And we went down there very peacefully, just doing rah, 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 we love Trump, we don't care what he says, we just want him to fix stuff, right? And You know, in every campaign, there's a little bad element, right? So Cory got fired. But that was a big mistake because Cory is the best chairman that Trump could ever have had in this state. I was with him as we traveled the state, and he worked tirelessly. Neither of us earning any money. He worked tirelessly for Mr. Trump. And guess what? He is still working tirelessly for Mr. Trump. And my husband will tell me if I get this backwards, but I think it was Abe Lincoln who said it about U.S. Grant, right? He said, "I like this man, he fights." Right? And Cory's going to fight. And Cory's next fight, after we get Mr. Trump elected, he's going to fight to be the next governor of Virginia. And Virginia women are going to help him get there. Don't mess with us. So, Cory, we want you to come up here and tell us more of why you support Mr. Trump.
Alice, you are trouble. You are really I have to admit, I'm a little bit nervous because last time I showed up with all these strong Republican women for Trump, I did get fired. But I figured they can't fire me twice, so what the hey, right? So, Stephen Moore, by the way, what an awesome economist. What an awesome economist. This man, his resume does not give him justice. He's just such a brilliant man. And when we elect Mr. Trump the President of the United States, we are going to put this economy back on track so that every American has hope and prosperity will continue to thrive in the United States. So, Mr. Moore mentioned that the Investors Business Daily came out with a poll earlier today showing Donald Trump ahead by 2 points. And earlier today, the Los Angeles Times tracking poll showed him ahead by 2 points. And just moments ago, this is the first post-debate poll that has come out. Rasmussen has Trump ahead by 3 percentage points across the country. And by the way, last Monday, it wasn't just the press that hurt us. Mr. Trump was watching too. And that is why, as just announced, Mr. Trump is putting another $2 million into the Commonwealth of Virginia for an ad campaign. So, and one more little piece of good news, by the way. That debate, he absolutely scorched her. It was perfect. And do you know that one thing that was kind of interesting about that debate, because they were checking who's searching whom during that debate. 2/3 of Americans were Googling Donald Trump, not Hillary Clinton, during that debate. 2/3 of them. You know what that means? You know what that means? You know why that's so important? Because there are a lot of Americans who are still undecided. And among independent voters, Trump is leading Hillary Clinton by 20 points. We knew we were going to do well in that debate. I think all of us knew he was going to do very well in that debate. And in one evening, when Hillary Clinton didn't raise a nickel, Donald Trump raised $9 million during the debate on Facebook. Now think about that for a moment. And this is why Trump is going to win. By the way, I got to ask this question. We're all adults in this room for the most part. There might be a couple liberals in here, I don't know. If you've never done anything in your life that was wrong or that you would be ashamed of exposing to the public, raise your hand. Okay, not a single. Oh, okay, smart Alec. This is what the left does. This is what the left does. They know that values are important to Republicans. They know that morality is important, is critically important to Republicans and to conservatives. And so what they do to us, when you're in front of the public eye and your entire background is exposed to the public, they find that thing that's in your closet. And then they say, see, he's a hypocrite. That's exactly what they've done. This has gone back all the way to Saul Alinsky. This is their strategy. But we cannot allow that to dampen our spirits. We cannot allow that to stop us from working for Mr. Trump, because we cannot cede control of our nation to a liberal Democrat who's bent on destroying and undermining America and its morality simply because Mr. Trump did something 10 years ago. We cannot do that. There's too much to lose. We're very, very close, folks. We're very, very close. Don't stop fighting. And by the way, one thing that the left has done for 40 years is they have tried to shut us up. The First Amendment gets in their way, but what they couldn't achieve through the force of law, they have done through political correctness. They have labeled conservative speech as bigoted. They've labeled conservative speech. They've embarrassed us. In many cases, they fire us. They have us fired. We cannot allow, and Mr. Trump is the first one to stand up. And if he can stand up and speak his mind in a national audience as a Republican nominee for President of the United States, so can we. So don't give up hope. These polls are absolutely wrong. They're quota polls. They're based upon 2008 and 2012 voter turnout models. We know from going around the state, and by the way, when I decided to be Trump's chairman last December, I was a little bit hesitant. I govern a county of 450,000 residents, 55% of whom are minorities. I was a little bit nervous. But one of the things that I saw in that Manassas rally was a very big, diverse crowd of people there to support Mr. Trump because we want to take America back. So, this coming weekend, tomorrow, please work. I think Alice has got an event, a door-knocking event. There are other events to knock on doors. We found that 1 out of every 3 undecided voters, when their door is knocked, is convinced to vote for that candidate because of that door knocking. And 1 out of every 10 undecided voters who gets a phone call has that phone call make their decision for them. So continue to work. And by the way, when you're ready for a break, every year, Maria and I, and Maria, this is my wife, Maria, of 22 years. I think she looks like a runway model with that dazzling dress, by the way. But if you get a chance, okay, I'm going to bite my tongue. But if you get a chance at our home, the Bel Air Plantation, tomorrow, please come by. And if you're volunteering for the campaign tomorrow, you get in free. So that's the deal. But anyway, don't lose faith. We're going to win on Election Day, and we're going to take our country back. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Okay, the next governor of Virginia. Isn't that great? But if any of you would like to come to Bel Air tomorrow for their annual celebration, he is serious. You can contact me on Facebook or actually just look up Corey Stewart, and you will get to see the room where George Washington slept when he was on his honeymoon. So we're kind of wrapping up with the speakers now, but we can party all night. Wynn actually has music, so we can even dance, right? But I do want to give a plug to Elizabeth. She has designed these wonderful Trump scarves. They're pure silk, and she has a small supply with her. She's selling them for $40, so get them while they're going. And she's sitting right here. Again, I want to thank Wynn, and I want to thank Vin. Where's the Vin, the owner of the restaurant? Is he down there? Come on up here. This man is a huge Trump supporter. And he has done so much for us tonight. He gave us such a good deal on the dinner, and it was delicious, wasn't it? And I came over here all spazzed out, thinking I was going to have to hang up all the decorations, and my husband was on a conference call, and Laura was stuck in traffic, and Carolina drove the Donald, and between the two of us, we didn't know what to do. He got all his guys together. I want to thank them very, very much, all the wait staff. They helped us do all the decorations. So this is going to be the meeting place for Virginia Women for Trump, ongoing. We're going to do great things here. So I hope you're all energized and all ready to get out there for the last few days. And just like Dr. Gorka said, bring them, take them to the polls, take them to the polls. We're going to win this thing. We're going to do it. We're going to make America safe again. And we're going to make America great again. So please stay, mingle, have a good time. Oh, yeah, come, Doug. Doug has come up with this wonderful thing, and he's also, keep forgetting stuff. If you want yard signs, the Donald is filled with them outside. So, because I couldn't pull them out. So let me know. I think I have about 1,000, and I have the door knocking cards. And Doug has come up with something wonderful, and they've just gone to print, right? And it's going to be a card, front and back, and here it's got the voter guide. This is everything that Trump stands for, yes or no, and everything that she stands for, yes or no. Of course, she's against everything that would be good, right? But this will be a wonderful thing to just pass out. And when will I have them, Doug? Wednesday. Wednesday, I will have them. So just call me, come to my house, and pick them up. Anybody, any questions, or have I forgotten to thank anyone? That would be the worst thing. No? Laura, get up here. Laura, where's my other half? Okay, I want to thank once again this fabulous woman. She has, oh my gosh, she's just been so wonderful. This has been a great night. We will have more great nights, many of them. But right now, go out and do whatever needs to be done and win this thing. Make America great again.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Wynn is going to turn on the music. Stay, have a good time.